Hey everyone, welcome to the Open World of Warcraft, where we're 100% focused on open world PvE content in World of Warcraft, from leveling to world quests, delves, etc. My name is Setsuko, and in this video what I would like to do is take a look at the Warlock class talent tree and just go through the different talents that are here, offer you some information on them, highlight whether or not I think there are certain ones that you should take, certain ones you can skip, or everything in between. So that's what we're going to do here today. First, I want to just put this out there. With this being open world PvE content, and there's a good chance that you're going to be running things solo here on your Warlock, I'm going to work with the assumption that if you are playing as Destruction or Affliction, you're going to be running the Voidwalker pet. And if you are running Demonology, you're going to be running the Felguard pet. So kind of the tankier or the signature pet there. And that we're not really going to be dabbling too much in the Imp, Felhunter, or the Succubus there. So that's the assumption we're going to go in with. And we're going to start by taking a look at the starter talent. Every spec for Warlock has the same starter talent, which is going to be Soul Leech. This makes it so that all your single target damage gives you and your pet a shield for a % of the damage that you deal. So you have to take this. It's also just a really good passive to help prevent some damage. And in the case of your Voidwalker or your Felguard, you know, giving them a little shield is always going to be nice because they're going to be doing a lot of tanking for you. All right, so let's look at the other talents on the top row here. So we've got Fel Domination. This is a 3-minute cooldown ability that reduces the cast time of your next Imp, Voidwalker, Incubus, Succubus, Felhunter, or Felguard, basically your next, demon cast here. It reduces it by 90% and makes it free. So what this is like, let's say that you're tanking a bunch of stuff, your Voidwalker goes down. Okay, now you're in trouble. You can pop Fel Domination, and not only will that spell be free, but it'll be cast much more quickly than when you were to cast it the normal way. Really nice pickup here for those sorts of moments, but definitely skippable if you don't need to put a point in and you're not looking to get into this Fel Pact over here. So you don't need to pick this one up. It's definitely skippable, but if you do find that you're maybe in a situation where you're taking on a lot of enemies, sometimes your pet dies, you want to be able to summon them quickly, you could pick this up. On the other side, Burning Rush, to me, this is a mandatory pickup for all 3 specializations. This is a toggle. You toggle it on and it will increase your movement speed by 10%, but it will deal 4% of your maximum health and damage every second. Also, while you have this, you can't be reduced below 100% movement speed. Warlocks are slow, okay? They're slow. They don't have a lot of great movement abilities. This is pretty much the only one we got and the only one that's like halfway decent to use on a regular basis. So to me, you're going to want to pick this up. Otherwise, you're always going to be lagging behind constantly. You're going to be moving super slow. So definitely pick up Burning Rush. Moving to the second row, we start out with Fel Pact. This reduces the cooldown of Fel Domination by 60 seconds, so takes it from 3-minute cooldown to a 2-minute cooldown. If you're going to pick up Fel Domination, I highly recommend that you pick up Fel Pact, unless you just don't need to use Fel Domination that often. 2-minute cooldown is really nice. Also, I would say maybe if you were wanting to switch pets, I don't know, this is really just kind of a convenience, is my pet dying a lot thing. Hopefully it's not, and you can skip both of these. But if you're going to pick up Fel Domination, that cooldown reduction may help. Next, we have Demon Skin. Your Soul Leech absorption now passively recharges at a rate of 0.1% max health every 1 second and can absorb up to 5% of maximum health. This also increases your armor. Now, the increase on your armor is not too big of a deal because your pet should be tanking for you, but that passive Soul Leech is really nice. It means that a lot of times you go into combat with that shield ready to go. So for me, this is pretty much a mandatory pickup. With 2 points in, this is going to recharge it at 0.2% and kick our armor up by 90%. Pretty nice. Next, we have Fel Armor. So when Soul Leech absorbs damage for you or your pet, 5% of damage taken is absorbed and spread out over 5 seconds. So you take it as damage over time instead. and this reduces your damage taken by 1.5%. Again, 2 points into this one, we get 10% spread out and 3% damage reduction. Very nice, especially for our tanking pet. So in my opinion, a mandatory pickup for all specs here. And then we have Fiendish Stride. Again, this is another one I think is a mandatory pickup for all specializations. It reduces the damage dealt by Burning Rush, our movement ability, by 10%. And it makes it so that instead of a 50% movement speed increase, we're going to get a 70%. So it increases it by 20. If we're going to pop that ability and we're going to burn our health to use it, we might as well get more speed out of it so that either we can go further or we can stop the Burning Rush sooner after getting to where we need to be. So in my opinion, mandatory pickup there. Now we get to sort of the gates here for this top tier where we got a couple different options we can choose from. So first we have Curses of Enfeeblement. Personally, I don't like either one of these. So it gives you the Curse of Tongues, which increases the cast time of all spells, and the Curse of Exhaustion, which reduces the target's movement speed. Now, out of the two of these, I would definitely go Curse of Tongues to try to mitigate some damage, but honestly, I just don't find that these are really worth casting on your average open world mob. Now, if you're doing like a rare spawn, an elite, something like that, maybe, but in general, it's not worth the time to cast one of these on an enemy that's going to die in less than 10 seconds. So I would not pick this one up unless I needed it to get to some of the things on the lower tiers, which we'll look at here in a minute. Then we have Demonic Circle. This will summon a Demonic Circle for 15 minutes. If you cast Demonic Circle Teleport, you'll teleport back to the location and remove all slowing effects. Okay, so this is okay. It's nice. It can kind of serve as almost like a sub-Hearthstone in a way. You could park this at like the entrance to a cave, go in, do your cave stuff, and then use teleport to get back out. So it has some decent utility, but I mean, you really got to find uses for it. But I think a lot of the times you're going to find those uses in the open world content as opposed to like a dungeon. You also can use these in raids and stuff as well. So again, another like so-so pickup, depends on if you want to use it or not, or if you need it to get to some of the other talents here. And then finally, we have a choice node here with Howl of Terror and Mortal Coil. Howl of Terror's 40-second cooldown that causes 5 enemies within 10 yards to flee in fear and disorients them for 20 seconds. Damage may cancel the effect. Then we have Mortal Coil. This is a 45-second cooldown that horrifies 1 enemy, incapacitating them for 3 seconds, and it heals you for 20% of your maximum health. Now, either one of these I think is fairly good, but you're going to want to partner them with a additional talent that we can pick up a little bit later on. So we'll come back and talk about these once we get to that point. But I just want to kind of cover here the thing that I don't love about either one of these is the fact that they cause enemies to flee in fear, and they may flee into other enemies, aggro those enemies, and bring them back to you, which is just not great. Okay. Out of the two of these, I do have a preference for Mortal Coil because it does provide some additional healing. But if you find that you don't need the healing and you'd rather have more target, like multiple target crowd control, Howl of Terror can be fine as well. All right, on to the next row here. So we have Amplify Curse. This is going to make our next Curse of Exhaustion, Tongues, or Weakness amplified. Again, I don't feel like these curses are worth casting on enemies at all. So to me, this is an easy skip on all specializations. Next, we have Demonic Embrace, which increases our stamina by 10%. So that's just going to give us more health, more stats. So that's nice. If you're going to pick up Curse of Enfeeblement to make your way down this side of the tree, that's an easy pickup for me. Then we have Demonic Inspiration, increase the attack speed of your primary pet by 5%. If you use Grimoire of Sacrifice, which I typically don't, it'll increase damage by 10%. So this one to me is I consider this a mandatory pickup because it's just good to buff your pet in general. Attack speed of your primary pet is going to be pretty nice. So you either have to take Curse of Enfeeblement or Demonic Circle to get there. Looking at what's directly linked to Demonic Circle, we have Abyss Walker. So using Demonic Circle Teleport for your Demonic Gateway reduces all damage you take by 4% for 10 seconds. Not that big of a deal, really, because we're mostly going to be using Demonic Teleport in sort of a utility fashion in open world content, as opposed to using it to bounce back and forth and do things in a raid where that damage reduction might come in handy. So this is a pretty easy skip for all specializations to me. Next, we have Wrathful Minion. Increase the damage done by your primary pet by 5%. And again, if you have Grimoire Sacrifice, this increases its damage by 10%. Again, another one that I consider to be a pretty mandatory pickup. So whether you choose to get Demonic Circle to go for Inspiration and Wrathful Minion, or whether you're going to grab Howl of Terror, and that'll get you here, and maybe you can pick up Curse of Enfeeblement, you're going to want to take at least 2 out of the 3 here on this row to be able to get access to these 2 important talents. Underneath our choice node here, we have Demonic Fortitude, increases you and your pet's maximum health by 5%. Again, we're most likely going to be using a tanking pet. The more health they have, the better. So again, another one that I consider a mandatory pickup for all specializations. And then finally, we have Banish Demon on this row. This will banish an enemy demon, aberration, or elemental. So generally, this is a skip. If you're in an area where you're fighting a lot of demons, aberrations, or elementals, then it may be worth picking this up just for that area. But in general, because of its limited use, you're going to want to just skip this talent point. Okay, moving on to the next row. We have Teaching of the Satyrs, reduce the cooldown of Amplify Curse. You know how I feel about the curses, so this one is an easy skip. So to me, there's no reason to take either one of these 2. Okay, next up we have Drain Life, heals for 15% of the amount drained over 10 seconds. This is a 2 points, so it would heal up to 30%. Very, very, very good. In my opinion, mandatory for any spec that's going to use Drain Life as a primary way to heal. So again, you're going to want to get to this side of the tree somehow, either through the curses or through the circle. At this point, I would probably say you take the circle, you take Inspiration, you come down and you get your 2 points in accrued vitality. Right below that, we have another skill here, Sweet Souls. Your health stone heals you an additional 10% of your maximum health, and any part of your raid member that uses a health stone will also heal you for that amount. Again, health stones, one of the nice ways that you can heal. You may or may not be using health stones on a regular basis. I think you will because of a talent later down in the tree here. But if you're not using health stones ever, then I wouldn't pick this up. But if you use them on a regular basis, this is definitely worth the pickup. In the middle, we have a choice node here between Nightmare and Horrify. So Nightmare makes it so that the amount of damage required to break your fear effects is increased by 60%. Horrify makes it so that your fear targets tremble in place instead of fleeing. To me, if you're going to be picking up anything that has to do with fear, we have fear by default, but you also have things like Howl of Terror and Mortal Coil. I would want to pick up Horrify here to prevent those from being abilities that make the enemy run away from you. So we're going to grab Horrify. We're also going to come back up here and I'm going to grab Mortal Coil and Demonic Fortitude there. All right, next we have Demonic Gateway. So this makes a gateway between 2 locations. Activating the gateway transports the user to the other gateway. Each player can only use this once per 90 seconds. I find this to be pretty unusable in open world content. I don't find a lot of use for it. Most of the use that I would get out of it, I would get out of Demonic Circle much more efficiently because it lasts for so long. So in general, this is a skip for me on all specializations. Next, we have Lifeblood. When you use a health stone, you gain Leech for 20 seconds. We got 2 points we can put in here for 8% Leech. This one, again, if you're using health stones, then you might as well use this as well. It's going to give you that Leech, so you heal even more. But more importantly, it does tie into Shadow Fury, which is an ability we're going to want to pick up. So that kind of makes it mandatory for all specializations to grab Lifeblood. All right, on the next tier down, we've got a couple of things here. So first we have Dark Pact. Dark Pact is a defensive ability, 1 minute cooldown. You sacrifice 20% of your current health, and it shields you for 200% of that amount of health. So really nice. You basically drop 20% of your health, and then you get a big shield that can absorb a lot of damage. This is a really nice defensive ability for warlocks. If you find that things like your Unending Resolve aren't cutting it, or you need that extra defensive, or you just want it, highly recommend Dark Pact as a pickup, but you can also skip it here if you feel like you're doing pretty good in terms of sustain and not getting into situations where you need a big damage reduction ability. In the middle, we have a choice node between Strength of Will and Dark Accord. Strength of Will makes it so that your Unending Resolve reduces damage taken by an additional 15%, and Dark Accord reduces the cooldown of Unending Resolve by 45 seconds. So if we were to go down here and look up that Unending Resolve, you're going to see that's a defensive ability we have on a 3-minute cooldown that reduces damage by 25%. So right here, this would take it up to 40%, and this would reduce the cooldown down to 2 minutes and 15 seconds. In general, for a pick like this, we don't normally have to use these abilities a lot in open world content, so I tend to take the thing that's going to buff the ability when I do use it, meaning I would take Strength of Will here to increase the amount of damage reduction that I'm getting. But again, if you're in a good situation, you could pass on this. However, we do need to take abilities from here to get to the rest of the tree, so in all likelihood, we'll end up picking some of these up. And then we have Shadow Fury, which I specifically spent points to get into here. This is an AoE stun for all enemies within 8 yards for 3 seconds. Very, very good defensive and damage mitigation tool here. To me, mandatory pickup for all warlocks. It's just really, really useful. It also can serve as an interrupt for spells and things like that. You could pass on it though, if you're not worried about it, but you know, you've got to spend your points on something, and I think an AoE stun is a really good place to invest a point. So now we get down here to the next tier, and generally speaking, I would pick up Dark Pact and then Strength of Will, and that kind of loops us into the bottom here. So on our next tier, we start with a choice node. So we have Ichor of Devils. So Dark Pact only sacrifices 5% of your current health for the same shield value, or Frequent Donor, which reduces the cooldown of Dark Pact by 15 seconds. So it turns it into a 45-second cooldown. Honestly, we don't need to use it that much. If you were going to pick up Dark Pact and use it regularly, I would go with Ichor of Devils, so that you're only sacrificing 5% of your health, but you're getting 200% of 20% of your health instead. So you get the buff, but you don't have to sacrifice as much health to get it. Not a mandatory pickup by any means, and also Dark Pact's not a mandatory pickup either, but is nice if you do find yourself using Dark Pact frequently. Next, we have Sothrakar's Guile. So this is different depending on the spec you're in. Looking at Destruction, Immolate damage goes up. For Affliction, Agony damage goes up. And for Demonology, Wild Imp damage goes up. All of these, great. It's just increased damage on spells that you're going to use a lot for every specialization. So to me, mandatory 2 points for all specializations. Next, we have Sargari Technique. So again, this is another one that's different based on your spec. For Destruction, Incinerate damage goes up. For Affliction, Shadow Bolt and Drain Soul damage goes up. And for Demonology, Shadow Bolt damage goes up. Again, another mandatory 2 point for all specs. Just really good damage increase. You're going to use those abilities all the time. And then our other choice node here is to modify our Shadow Fury. So we have a choice with Dark Fury to reduce the cooldown by 15 seconds and increase the radius. So that turns it into a 45-second stun for everything within 10 yards, which is nice. And then we have Shadow Flame. This is a new ability that slows enemies in a cone in front of you. Here, I would pick up Dark Fury to be able to use Shadow Fury more often and in a wider radius. Again, not a mandatory pickup here, but if you have the points and you like using the stun just to mitigate damage, interrupt, etc., then this is a nice pickup regardless. Moving on to our next grouping here, we've got Swift Artifice. This reduces the cast time of Soul Stone and Create Healthstone by 50%. Just kind of a convenience talent point. To me, this is 100% skippable unless you want to get a corresponding attached talent point. In the middle, we have Demonic Tactics. Your spells have increased chance to deal a critical strike, and you gain more critical strike from all sources. Mandatory pickup all specializations. Every specialization enjoys critical strike, and getting more critical strike from all sources is just great. Next, we have Teachings of the Black Harvest. This gives your primary pet a bonus effect. Again, assuming you're using the Voidwalker here, it reduces the cooldown of its Shadow Bulwark ability by 30 seconds, which is not too bad. If you are on Demonology, the Felguard reduces the cooldown of Pursuit, increases its maximum range. I would say that on the Demonology, I would definitely want to pick this up when using the Felguard. And on the other two specializations, it's optional if you want to use that Shadow Bulwark. But this is just a buff to your pets that you're going to have out constantly anyway, so it is a nice pickup. It also does tie into some other talents that we're going to want anyway. Our second to last row, we start off with Resolute Barrier. Attacks received that deal less than 5% of your health decrease Unending Resolve's cooldown by 10 seconds. This cannot occur more than once every 25 seconds. This is something I just do not care about at all. Unending Resolve, we kind of went over it here. It's going to give us some damage reduction and things like that. But on top of that, we have Dark Pact for that additional shield on a lower cooldown. We're probably going to be using Dark Pact more often than we're going to be using Unending Resolve. And I'm not too worried about reducing the cooldown of Unending Resolve here either. So easy skip for all three specializations for me. Next, we have Fel Synergy. Soul Leech also heals you for 8% and your pet for 25% of the absorption it grants. And this doubles, so you can get 15% and 50%, 100% mandatory pickup every specialization, primarily for the healing to your pet. It's going to make your pet management much easier for you, so you're not going to be having to manually heal your pet as much. It's just a really nice quality of life passive that you can get here. So in my opinion, again, mandatory for all specializations. Next, we have Soul Link. So 5% of all damage you take is taken by your demon pet instead. And if you have Grimoire of Sacrifice, then your stamina is increased. Again, I don't typically play Grimoire of Sacrifice builds. If I did, I would definitely pick this up for the stamina. But for a pet-based build, I'm not too worried about Soul Link. I don't really want extra damage to go to my pet because I want my pet to be able to taunt and hold aggro. And if I'm taking some damage, that's okay. I've got ways to heal up. You know, either I've got Drain Life, I've got the Soul Leech healing here. You know, I've got ways to take that damage. And I would rather not pass that damage along to my pet. So generally, this is a skip for me in those types of builds. I want my pet to hold aggro for me. If I was playing in a group or maybe with a different pet, then this might be something that I would pick up. Our last one here is going to be Demonic Resilience. Reduces the chance you'll be critically struck by 2%. And this doubles, so it'll get up to 4%. And your primary demon takes 16% reduced damage. To me, this is a mandatory pickup, and that makes the Teachings of the Black Harvest a mandatory pickup on every specialization. So you grab that one, you put 2 points in this. Again, I hope you're getting the idea. My pet is tanking for me. I want to reduce the damage it takes. I want to heal it. So all damage your primary demon takes is reduced by 15%. That is huge in my opinion. So again, mandatory pickup all specializations. Then we get down to our final tier here, and these are a little bit underwhelming for final tier abilities, but we do have a cool kind of new one here, the Pact of Gluttony. Health stones you conjure for yourself are now demonic health stones and can be used multiple times in combat. You cannot trade them. So your demonic health stone will restore 25% of health, and it has a 60-second cooldown. So you can just reuse it over and over again. So that's why I said this... the one that reduces the cast time of Soulstone and create Healthstone is not quite as good, because if you pick this up, then you only have to conjure your one Healthstone for yourself. I like this. It's certainly not a mandatory pickup, but it gives you another way to heal yourself, which again is kind of, I'd rather manage my own healing and provide as much damage reduction and healing to my pet as possible, so I don't have to mandatory or manually heal my pet. So this one, it's not at all a have to have, but I like it, and I think I will end up picking it up in all of my builds. In the middle, we have Soul Conduit. So every soul shard you spend has a 5% chance to be refunded. My opinion, this is a manual pickup here because it's just nice to get a refund on a soul shard. Every single specialization uses soul shard. And I mean, 5% is 5%, but it's nice to have. And then finally, we have Soul Burn. This is an ability with a 6-second cooldown. Consumes one of your soul shards, unlocking the hitting power of your spells. So looking at this with Demonic Circle Teleports, which we have here, it's going to increase your movement speed by 50%, make you immune to snares and roots. Don't care. Demonic Gateway, I generally don't pick up. Drain Life will give you an Absorb Shield equal to the amount of healing done for 30 seconds. That's a nice pickup. It's okay. Health Funnel, which is how you heal your pet. It restores 140% more health and reduces damage taken to your pet by 30%. And then with your Health Stone, it increases the healing of your Health Stone by 30% and increases your maximum health by 20% for 12 seconds. This is a take it if you want it. You know, having another ability here that you have to like combo with other ones could be useful depending on the situation, but you could also put that point somewhere else. Generally speaking, I think the most value from this comes from being able to amp your health funnel if you need to heal your pet. So if you're finding that, you know, your tank pet is taking a lot of damage and you're having trouble keeping it alive, or maybe that, you know, just every couple of packs you need to health funnel to it and it's just not as strong as you would like, I could see picking up Soul Burn to kind of hit Soul Burn, then hit Health Funnel in order to really pump a lot of healing into your pet. But that being said, you could absolutely skip this one as well. So it really just depends on you. So that's a look at the Warlock class tree. That's my opinions on the different talents and whether or not you can pick them up, skip them, etc. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. If it has, throw a like on the video, subscribe to support the channel, and share the video with someone that you think might be playing Warlock in the War Within. I appreciate you taking time to watch one of my videos, and I'll see you on the next one.